colors are the flowers where you are. In a version of this story, it is love that brings you to your knees. You didn't know loss until you lost your grandmother. She who was here again, on a boat, pointing at the fish, saying, "They will outlive us all. Look, that one. I hope that one remembers us kind." I said the world is anything but kind. I said I saw you kneel at the photographs and you're shaking hands. I ask, do you ever want to run away from here? To let the flood wash you clean? You find hope just to lose it, and around you men lose themselves on their mountains. They crumble to dust. I said, perhaps they were right when they said you should never meet your heroes. No worship crumbled ground. And you said, there is kindness in freedom despite this world, and polishing the substance from the inside. And I watch you photograph what you love, a fist raised that captures what you fight not to forget. And this was your first love, the ocean. And so this was your first heartache, wild, churning, deep, engulfing. The salt air smells different in every country. You said a town with only dry ground is not a place to live. And I said, hold on, the flood tides will come, and all of this will one day take hold of you. And the glow of the horizon will be within reach, and the last light will mirror the remnants of the life you leave behind. And every ship must leave its harbor, but no one speaks of unmooring, drifting, drowning. What is it like to be on the waves? To be within a love that lasts you lifetimes? In another version of this story, you never wanted steel shards for wings. They sent you out into the dawn over open waters. Protect the horizons you so love, they said. You never asked for the weight of their lies. You could barely hear your own heart. You had to scream to be seen, as if only when the pain twists your body wholly can it begin to matter to them in their towers of glass and blood. And every time your knees hit the ground, you remember what they taught you, that red was the color of love. There they sit in crystalline castles, built from shards of lives they took and tore apart, afraid to look down, knowing their empire was built on blood. And you build your life in stanzas of heartache and honesty, and they said all is fair in love and war. And what is a war for? What is left to protect? They took your light. There is no country to call home. Home was what you believed would love you back. It turns its back. Every glass tower is made to be cruel, and the ones who drive the knives in your back are the ones who stand right beside you. But this was not the freedom you fought for. Not like this. Even language is too late for us. In this last light, we kneel, bleeding and bruised, still waiting for morning to surely come. You were so certain the light would love us back, but the rising sun betrays us. They have taken the last world from you. They have taken these last words from you. Look, they say, we gave you wings. In another version of this story, my grandmother vacancy. This is his silence. This is void. These are their last days together, in color, in frames, before the world faded to black. I hear the ringing like bells of a silence only death leaves. I listen for it, for you, and the space you leave that grows larger by the day is equal to the love you left behind. I really did think you were invincible all those years back. Now I look at my grandmother, and I see the truest love I know. But in another life, the teacup was still full. The oranges peeled for her. She was not afraid of the afternoon sun, and the evening light still brought warmth. In another life, there would have been enough time for all of us. In this one, we learn to live without. And so it goes. This is the curse love brings. It endures. In another version of this story, my hands, cold and numb, reached for you in the dying sun. You said you remember our sunsets being longer. I said you loved me in a language I could not understand. I remember sitting there with you as the skies grew pink, orange, red, dark. Years ago felt like yesterday, before your skies swallowed the universe I was, before I realized there is finality and fate in every event horizon. This was always going to happen. There is no version of this story in which my light escapes your singularity. We're only fragile objects drifting within a fragile fabric, doomed and destined and eternally ending. But remember how we loved so loudly, even on borrowed time. And where was I at the end of the world, if not by your side? I thought I had to see the world to know what I needed to come home to. I thought I had to make everyone happy, to be loved. But home was always in the coffee cup, this table, and the world you gave me that shudders under the weight of being truly loved. In this last light, it is apart that we lie, too proud to admit this indulgent bliss is only sorrow disguised. Your silences, your hair, your hands, calloused, bruised, strong. Metal on wood, on wall, on cloud, on sky, in space, in time. One day I will return to your side. That was a promise. In this last light, I hold the pale memory of your whisper. There will be love for us, far away, in the next life, where we make better mistakes. It is too late for us. I say stay. Haunt me in this one. This is how the story goes. What colors are the flowers where you are? Do you remember dancing around in your childhood room? How the days collapsed into hazy memories that haunt you as you sleep? In this life, you bury a snail you stepped on after 2 hours crying by the road. The ghost of the snail looks up and says, "You are the kindest creature I know." was pure and true and asked for nothing? Do you remember sitting atop your father's shoulders, above the clouds, above the world that could not hurt you? Do you remember the beach at night, collecting shells in your childhood, building sandcastles with your grandfather? You remember the fairy tales, the bedtime stories, the words you hung onto as the world shifted into what you could no longer recognize. You know better now that monsters were never meant to kill you. The world was never out to get you. And fighting to survive, we only end up fighting ourselves. But do you remember the kingdom in your room? How you protected all the animals and watched over the ones you loved, before dreams of them dying, before the world turned against you, before time took them from you. They have taken the lost worlds from you. And there will be love for us in the next world, where we did everything right. And there must be love for us in this one. But this world has broken your heart.